Now, I left you with a bit of a cliffhanger about sex. So in Love Sense, Dr. Johnson, you say that it's not good sex that leads to satisfying, secure relationships. It's secure loves that leads to great, actual, the best sex. Well, that was very interesting to read. I was like, oh, okay, talk to me.
Well, they, of course they influence each other. The point is that the more open, it's all about being accessible and open and responsive and engaged. The big question in love is, are you there for me? A-R-E. Are you accessible? Can I reach you? Will you respond to me if I call? Are you engaged with me? Will you come close? And that is kind of what defines love relationships, and it also defines our sexuality. If you think about it, good sex is an enormously elaborate dance. It requires a lot of attunement and coordination. It requires sort of moving together. If you watch birds in bonding dances, in mating dances, you see them imitate each other, tune into each other, respond to each other, and that's what good sex is about. And it requires that people know how to coordinate responses and tune in, respond to each other. So the ARE operates in the bedroom as well. And if you're emotionally open and responsive, your emotions start in the body, you're much more likely to be physically open and responsive and engaged. And indeed, the research says that securely attached folks enjoy sex more, they have sex more often, they're better at dealing with sexual problems, because if you're going to have sex over a long period of time, you're going to have problems. You're going to have, one person's desire sort of wanes, another person's desire goes up. There's sexual problems as you get older. There's all kinds of issues. And what we know is that securely attached folks can deal with those issues together. They, they say they're more sexually satisfied. They feel better about themselves sexually. They have better self-image. They can deal with, differences in desire, for example. At the end of therapy, when a couple know how to reach for each other in our sessions, if one person wants to make love on the Friday night and the other person doesn't, it's just a little bit upsetting because they can still comfort each other and hold each other, and, the emotional consequences aren't huge. Whereas for other couples who don't have that secure bond, if one person wants to make love on Friday night and the other person doesn't, it's a complete catastrophe. It creates an enormous fight, or it ends up with one person going off in a huff and not speaking for a week. So, it's kind of the emotion, the way you deal with your emotions impacts everything in bed and out of bed. How you engage emotionally is how you engage physically, is how you make love. So we're at the point where all this new research on love and bonding and attachment is being applied to sexuality, and it's helping us understand that, what I talk about in Hold Me Tight is that you can really say that there's three different kind of ways of making love. Securely attached folks are much more likely to have what I call synchrony sex, where they can share needs, and they have sex for lots of different reasons: to be close, to give each other pleasure, to have an orgasm, to explore the relationship, and they're much more likely to tune into the other person, to communicate more about sexuality, to feel relaxed, and we call this synchrony sex. And it goes against the old idea that a secure, loving relationship results in vanilla sex. That's not true. It's disconnection that creates disconnected sex. It's emotional disconnection that creates physical disconnection. Securely attached folks have great sex, right? They report much more satisfaction. Whereas anxiously attached folks are much more likely to have what we call solace sex, where if you talk to men and women who don't really believe their partner loves them, who are always on the lookout for being rejected or deserted, these people say things like, well, of course, orgasm is important, but, what's important is that when we make love, I know that he really loves me. That's what I like, and then I know that she desires me, and then I feel like a man, and they focus on the sort of comfort involved in sex, the reassurance, and then they don't very often go into erotic play. And then you get the avoidant folks who are really uncomfortable with closeness, and what they focus on is performance, sexual performance, and sensation. So they're the folks, men and women, who say, I want a certain kind of orgasm, and I want it within so many minutes, and, I want you to do this and this so that I have the orgasm. I don't want to cuddle afterwards. I just want to go to sleep. I'm just fine. I don't need to talk or spend a lot of time in foreplay. They have what we call sealed-off sex. And the trouble with that one is that even though they might be good at sexual technique, the partner usually feels isolated.
Sure.
It's like you're doing something very intimate on one level, except the other person isn't really there. In fact, avoidant sex is what I call, there's that old phrase, having a lovely time, wish I was here.
Oh, God. Wow.
They're not really engaged.
Okay,
and so after a while, the partner starts to just move away because we don't just want orgasms in sex. Our sexuality is regulated a lot by a bonding hormone called oxytocin.
Yeah.
And, oxytocin is, it sort of gets you ready, not just to have an orgasm, but to bond. And so for most people, it becomes punishing, even if the sexual technique is good, it becomes somehow punishing and painful to make love, so-called, have sex, with somebody who's emotionally absent. There's a kind of flatness there. It's like, and if you listen to more avoidant folks, talk about sex, they talk about it in terms of performance and sensation. What is interesting is that when you work with folks who have learned to be more avoidant, usually because of their childhood, in therapy, it's almost like they kind of thaw out. They start to listen to their own emotions and needs. They start to take risks with their partner, and of course there'll be different out of bed and in bed. Then they start to be able to have a different kind of sexuality. Our research says that in EFT, which is what we call emotionally focused couple therapy, in EFT, the last research study we did, that people not only felt more secure, had more trust, felt more satisfied, were more securely attached even, but their sex lives also improved. They felt much better about making love with their partner.